Hello, Bodcasters, and welcome to the Business Boys Podcast. I'm Hamza.
And I'm Cash.
I'm Will.
Yeah, you heard it right. It's podcast, not podcast. So we're actually here to blow your minds. And we're actually here to speak business, but out of this world. You're in for a new and out of this world topic, and the one that was just announced as a revolutionary product.
An entirely new AR platform with a revolutionary new product.
The one and only Apple Vision Pro.
Introducing Apple Vision Pro. The era of spatial computing is here.
In this video, we're going to be discussing some of the challenges and controversies around Apple Vision Pro, and we're also going to be discussing some of the interesting conspiracy theories around it.
But I think first we should talk about what actually is the Apple Headset Vision Pro, if you've not heard about it. Well, it's Apple's new released product. It's a headset that goes on your face and takes you into the VR world, and AR, spatial awareness as they call it. This device could be seen as a way in the future to move away from the iPhone, and this could be the new hot product.
This is not the first time that Apple has come out with a revolutionary product.
And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
Something like that. Yeah. And then we can talk about the iPhone, how it came out with the iPhone, and even when it came out with the iPhone, that was also considered considered revolutionary, while also faced a lot of criticism and challenges.
This iPhone, what was your first reaction when you saw that?
$500? That is the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard, which makes it not a very good email machine.
But it did prove to be, it did change the industry as we know it, and we can pose a question. So is this going to change? Is the Apple headset going to do the same?
I don't know. I mean, shall we just do it as though it's a normal conversation? So I'll carry on from that. So I'll just say, I don't know, Kath. I mean, it's quite expensive. I can see this being used for commercial, but can we really expect the everyday user to be able to pay the $3,499 price tag? I mean, that seems a lot to me.
Apple Vision Pro starts at $34.99. It starts at $34.99.
That is the most expensive.
Yeah, that definitely is a lot to be. That's like 3 iPhones.
Yeah. I mean, I was having a look on the Apple website, and that's the same price as a fully decked out iMac with all the most expensive options ticked. I mean, I wouldn't say most people have one of those. So.
Yeah, and another thing about it is that you can't just use the headset on its own. You need like a MacBook or an iMac with it, so that just adds on to the expense.
Yeah, I mean, I can see more of a professional use for it, but looking through the Apple demo of the product, it seems like they want people to use it for all aspects of everyday life. I just wonder if it's too bulky at the moment, though. I mean, it has an additional battery pack, and a lot of people were sat down while they were using it. I mean, I can't see it being that practical.
Exactly, like some of the features that they're pitching for the product, it's supposed to be like mobile friendly, as in it's supposed to help them go about their everyday things, as in like watch a movie or have a meeting or do day-to-day stuff while also being in the digital world. But I don't see this happening, especially with the battery life they have on there, because I don't see how I can finish an entire movie that's beyond 2 hours with the battery life being just 2 hours.
I mean, obviously, like the battery life is 2 hours, but obviously, I don't know how efficient it would be if you'll be using this device out, like in the world, and like actually going out and going places. Apple has just shown, videos of Apple Vision Pro being used, as you said, at home, and couches, on the bed. And basically people watching movies or working from home, but they haven't really shown people actually going out into the world and using it in the world. So we don't know how efficient or how safe it might be. Because once again, we come back with the dilemma of using phones, for example, while driving, or and that's dangerous, obviously. So we don't know if Apple Vision Pro is safe to use externally, and obviously Apple didn't say or show us anything regarding that.
Like exactly on that. Like imagine driving while using the Apple Vision Pro, and then your headset dies because it has a battery.
Do you think
that's like one
drive? Are people going to drive in? Do you think people are that stupid?
I mean, people do text while driving, so it's not too much of a stretch.
Yeah, they would just be doing this while driving. People passing with their car and wondering.
It does make it a lot convenient, like you can watch your favorite show like in the corner of your vision while driving and see oncoming traffic.
I didn't even think
that kind of encourages dangerous behavior, if you ask me.
That brings up an interesting point, though. I don't think you could wear them while driving, because I was looking at the field of vision of the headset, and it reckons it's 120 degrees, whereas human vision is 210 degrees. So I was watching the Apple intro while they were talking about the product, and they were saying it's going to be really great for looking at panorama pictures, and it's going to feel like you're really there. But it's not going to feel like real life still. It's not quite on that level.
Oh yeah, I did read about that as well. But I know why Apple did that, because a lot of its competitors offer a much larger field of vision, and Apple just stuck to 90 degrees. I don't know what they're thinking about that.
I mean, Kev, obviously you were mentioning the thing that like other companies or other tech companies provide a much better field of vision. So for example, there's the Samsung, I believe 360 degree VR headset, but then that is I don't even remember if it's, I don't know exactly what it, I've used it once, and actually like shows you like you're actually in a virtual, but I think there's a difference between a virtual world, virtual reality, and augmented reality, because
so it shows you behind your head.
No, it doesn't. No, so it just shows, but it's obviously just like you're like in a real world, but it's just virtual. I mean, it's not actually, you're not actually there. Like you wouldn't be able to see your home or anything. It's just, for example, using it for gaming or something like that, you would be able to see the game in the real world, but it's not actually the real world. So I think what Apple tried to do was incorporate this VR with the world and kind of allow you to see what you usually see, but except you would see it in a device, and you would also be able to use Apple products.
I get what you're saying. Like that's something that I think Meta did with the Metaverse and the Quest headset, because it essentially lets us live in a digital world that is Metaverse, while Apple is doing something entirely different by incorporating the real world with, like digital inputs or plugins, like making it, it's a very great concept. It could make living in the real world a lot easier if it's like applied in the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the Meta Quest Pro, and I feel like from the trailer anyway, I feel like that's more geared towards gaming. It seems like that's where Zuckerberg's taking critics. I saw an excerpt from him, and he said he wasn't particularly worried about the Apple Vision headset. So maybe there's room in the market for lots of different types of headsets which do different things.
Yeah, because I heard that. Zuckerberg did say that the Quest is more geared towards creating a more social space for people, making it a social platform, whereas Apple Vision Pro is promotes more of individualism, as in like people. That's why you can see in their ads and promotion videos where people just sitting alone in couches, whereas the Quest is supposed to enable people to engage with others and socialize with others on another platform like Metaverse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's interesting the way we're going to see all the different headsets geared, because the Apple headset seems to be trying to solve some issues. So the way that you can see the eyes through the visor of the headset, that's unlike any other headset. It seems like they're trying to make it something that could seamlessly slip into everyday use, whereas I feel like a MetaQuest would be a bit scary if someone in the real world saw you with it on. They wouldn't know what you were doing.
I mean, I'd be more creeped out by the eyes on a device.
You think? It's still your eyes, though.
I mean, still, it'll be like looking at a bunch of minions. Like, just wearing headsets and you just see the eyes.
Yeah. I think your eyes are. I think they're the same shape. I just think that it's just a bit weird, seeing, like, imagine people walking on the street with like headsets and everything, like the charger on the side, like walking, and people be wondering, like, who is this person? So I just think that it's obviously weird. It takes maybe some time for people to get used to it whenever it gets released, and we'll be talking about that as well. And people were just questioning that. They were actually just questioning that 3,500 is expensive to buy. I mean, such thing, and you'd also again need on the side like a laptop and an iPhone and everything. So, and there's no point of actually having the headset if you still need to use your iPhone and your iPad or your laptop or something. So, but the thing I found really interesting from the Apple video, their introduction video, was that they came up with this really smart marketing strategy that they kind of like blinded people when they watched it. So when I initially watched it, and then I thought afterwards, and I thought in much deeper terms, and kind of like came up with conspiracies about their marketing strategy and everything. When they first uploaded their video, it was again the thing with the couch and just at home, and they also added this thing with okay, so it showed this girl that was working from home, obviously, and then on the bed on her laptop, and they weren't mentioning anything throughout the entire video. So I think it was like a 9-minute video, and then towards the end, that's when they mentioned that you would need a MacBook to connect to your laptop, and then to connect it to the VR headset, the AR headset. So,
and even connect your Mac simply by looking at it, turning a 13-inch screen into a giant display.
For me, it was like the whole first section just made me believe that you don't need anything. Like, you only need the headset. And I think that's just deceiving.
Yeah, did it say that? Because I didn't realize you needed a laptop. I thought their selling point was that you can combine your laptop to bring in the workspace and make it look better. I didn't get that. Is that kind of what you're thinking then, from what you took away from it?
Yeah. So I think it was just part of the marketing strategy, because they wanted, obviously, to make people believe that, and majority of the people don't even watch until the end. They would just watch the beginning, and then they would say, oh, this person's using their mobile device, and they can see everything in real world in real time. Nothing is wrong. But then you would literally go and tell everyone, like I told my parents that, oh, you don't even need an iPhone, you don't need a laptop, you don't need anything, like, you don't even need a TV. And then they were like, oh, no, it sounds really interesting. But then as you watch, because I'm interested, and so I watched for longer, and then I realized that in just 2 words, that's when I realized that you actually need everything else.
And even connect your Mac. And even connect your Mac.
I mean, they weren't even too clear with TVs, because they made it seem as though you could just open it on your thing, on the VR on the headset, and then you could just like zoom it and make it as big as you want, so that that initially implies that you don't need a TV, right? That's what I thought, but then they weren't very clear with it. Like, and also one thing to keep in mind is that I'm assuming that they want you to use like Apple TV. So then,
Hamza, I don't know. I didn't get that. I think their whole making it bigger. I think the whole point was not to use a TV, because I heard a quote that said that they compared it to buying a really big TV. I mean, we might have to look into that a bit more. But I think you could be right along the lines of Apple's walled garden, as it were, its ecosystem. They want you to buy as many Apple products as possible. And although I've seen articles saying this is a standalone product and they want it to be that, I would highly believe that Apple is still trying to get you to buy everything else. And I could easily believe they want you to get the MacBook as well. So yeah, you don't get to be the biggest company in the world by not doing Apple tactics.
And an interesting theory that I've been thinking about for this entire time was, have you ever thought why Apple would prepare Apple TV, for example, or things like that? Like, why was Apple TV even on, or not even Apple TV? Like, just think about Apple Pay. Like, nobody used Apple Pay for a very long time and I believe it was just before COVID. I'm not really sure exactly when it was. I think it was released in 2014. Okay. So nobody used Apple Pay just a bit before COVID. Like, majority of the countries, people just relied on either cash or just the credit card, simple, like the swipe or something. So nobody really used Apple Pay. But then when I came to the UK, majority of people used Apple Pay, and then that's when I started using it. So it's the same concept. Apple Pay was released before COVID, so it had nothing to do with sanitary problems or anything. So it wasn't like an idea that came because of COVID. And then once again, it's something that it seems like they're predicting, so they kind of knew that this would come. And so Apple TV was made, even though there is an actual Apple TV. Like, you wouldn't go and purchase an Apple TV from a store. Apple TV is just an app. So the fact that Apple TV was here with us for a very, very long time, kind of like, it shows that they kind of predicted what would come next. So again, with the Apple headset, you would just use Apple TV, and then that's where you would be able to like increase and zoom your screen and make that as your TV.
Right, so are you saying Apple would maybe try and get the monopoly on using TV within the headset, and that's why they created their service, so you would have to buy that as well? Because again, Apple tries to get you into their ecosystem. It's interesting, we'll have to see, because Apple could create a massive monopoly on the content it uses on the headset. For instance, they've partnered with Disney to create all new AR visual experiences, and that could create real scope for them. For instance, they could completely bar Netflix from creating things on their product, and could really shut people down and have an immense amount of power in the entertainment space.
But then again, just using the price point kind of puts a limit on it, on how much it can prevent other users, because most of the users who use Netflix are from, I would say, like, majority will be from middle class incomes, and even though people, to be completely fair, people do even share their passwords on Netflix. So I don't think that someone by restricting Netflix off their platform or off their headset could essentially get a monopoly on it, because
I think it was not a monopoly on entertainment and TV, but a monopoly on this new innovative technology that Apple's come up with, like this new way of viewing content. If Apple restricts this new AR and AR becomes the main thing, then they could completely control that, if that's the way things are going. I mean, I've seen articles saying that the kind of like a 2D screen, a 2D space, is more immersive than a 3D space. So the traditional TV could be fine, but also Apple could control a lot of that space. Yeah, I think. But if in the future, I mean, as you say, the headset could be, and Netflix could be for kind of middle upper class. Apple products kind of are anyway. They're quite generally a little bit more expensive, but what if the headset doesn't get so bulky? It could turn into glasses or contact lenses. It could become a part of everyday life in the future.
A couple of years back, talking about contact glasses, Google did come up with something called Google Glasses back in 2013. I think. Wait, let me just
Yeah,
check
I think so. Yeah, they were kind of really innovative and out there with that one, weren't
Yeah, 2013. Yeah, they unfortunately discontinued the enterprise like this year, if I'm not wrong, and Apple definitely has some lessons to learn from this, because Google too started off very ambitiously, and after its launch, people were very excited about the technology. But once they released the product into the market, like, it did receive a lot of backlash, because people failed to see why they'd have to pay such a high price. It would only price it around $1,000 or $1,500, if I'm not wrong, and people weren't even willing to pay that back then. But you can agree that the Google Glasses did have a much less accepting environment than it does now, because AR is much more popular right now. And I think that Apple really should consider its high price point if it was to look into Google's failures. Another thing that I think Google failed was because it failed to justify its purpose, as in, like, the purpose for that product. What problem did it solve? And I see this exact same problem for Apple as well, because it isn't essentially solving a problem. Like, it's at least not as of now, because there was a similar criticism made by Tony Fadell, who is also known as the father of the iPod. He said that when technology failed to create a platform, as in he said that new technology should be a platform on its own, rather than giving access to a platform that already exists. Because I think that was really wise words from Tony Fadell. He also had some criticisms about the high price point for Apple, and he said the phrase "jump the shark," saying the decline in quality or popularity of Apple products might cause an issue later on.
Yeah, so although it seems like a premium product, Apple has this reputation of completing products that are kind of putting products into a complete package, and I've heard some criticism towards the Apple Vision Pro in terms of the battery pack. That's I don't know if Steve Jobs would be happy with that. That's not very Apple in terms of having this additional clunky. Steve was all about making things sleek, sexy, and I don't know, I don't think it looks that cool having the battery pack. I don't know what you guys think.
Exactly, yeah. Another thing I heard about it was the software. Like, it's still in development, and it can end up having a few bugs, and it can be frustrating for users to use. And of course, then again, the 2-hour battery life. And I don't know how accurate the hand gesture would be. The hand gesture controls, would it be as accurate as using a console or something else to control it, or like what if there are difficulties in getting controls right while using hand gestures or eye movements? Because that's technology we haven't seen before yet. Yeah. But then again, when Apple came out with the first iPhone, there was a lot of criticism talking about how it doesn't have a physical keyboard, or how it's not going to be good enough as the rest of the phones, or there was a lot of speculation in the market, but Apple did prove everyone wrong and revolutionized the phone industry.
Yeah, I think you brought up an interesting point there, Kath. You mentioned about, the usability of it and how it's going to feel, and apparently the displays have a 12-millisecond response time, and now that should feel very natural. But with regards to the clicking, I mean, if there's a small delay in that, you're really going to notice, and Apple users have that premium feel. They expect things instantly, and if that's off, I mean, Apple users aren't going to be happy.
Yeah, and I think there's also one more thing. That is, we obviously spoke just a bit about the price. I also think it's very important because, just as Apple, I wouldn't say it's predicted, but I would just, frame it as a conspiracy theory, because it's a very good theory. Assuming that they did predict that this would come once in the future, because they did come up with Apple TV as an initial kind of like foreshadowing.
Just quickly, Hamza, to put in, there's an argument with the AR as well. They've been adding AR to the phones. They've been getting their app developers to work with AR, and it could have all been built into this.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And also, I think that just as they predicted this, I kind of feel that maybe they also predicted the fact that people could just rely on their headsets for, contact prescription and not necessarily actually wearing like physical glasses, So then this comes back to the cost of 3,500. Like, if you would just think of this in the long term, I'm not necessarily with Apple or against Apple. I mean, I'm neutral, and obviously there's like a big controversy, and like everyone is just like, there are too many negatives and too many positives. I've seen so many news reports on the fact that Apple is not doing great, and the fact that it's not a good product and it won't be good for the future, and that is a very good it's a very good thing to keep in mind. But the question is it going to be useful in the future, keeping into mind the cost? I mean, just think about it this way. Imagine if it replaces your need for glasses, your need for contacts, or your need for, maybe in the future Apple would decide to remove devices if they think that, maybe because it's just still in its development phases, it still needs a few devices to rely on, but maybe in the future they would just get rid of, MacBooks, iPhones, and everything. So you would just rely on, the headsets for everything in your life, like navigation, your eyesight, basically everything. So maybe the price is worth it. Maybe it is worth it, paying 3,400 now for the future.
Can you see Apple destroying those revenue streams, Hamza? I mean, all that juicy money. I mean, I don't know. I think what if we're on the topic of conspiracy theories, what if Apple segregates it all, as you said earlier, maybe means you have to buy all the product? There's a lot to think about.
I mean, if we're just looking at it in terms of a business, obviously every business wants a lot of profit and a lot of money. So obviously they would want you to buy as many things as possible rather than just having to pay 3,500. But if you just also think maybe in this way, they could kind of, just as they degrade the iPhone battery over time, obviously there's a percentage on the settings that tells you how much your battery life is. So 63%, 60%, and it goes down after every year or so. Depends how much you use it, maybe. So they could still do that with the Apple headsets. But maybe that would cause controversy, because what if you only rely on that and you have all your contacts and everything there and your eyesight depends on it, And then what if like it degrades and then the battery starts like glitching and everything, and then like your virtual reality just becomes messed up.
So you're essentially saying that one could become too reliable on the technology. Like people could end up being.
It could become too reliable, and as Will said, regarding the fact that it's a business and it wants to make more money, it wants you to buy as much as possible. So what they could do is maybe degrade your headset's life as fast as possible, or it obviously uses battery. So I mean, you have to recharge it. It's a rechargeable battery, so they could build it in a way that doesn't last really, really long. Like it could last like 2 years or something. So you would have to pay for another headset.
Well, that's it.
So kind of like how Apple. I'm sorry. So kind of like how Apple creates it. Makes it chargers
and phones.
In a way that chargers and phones where it's not of the best qualities at times, and I've heard a lot of criticisms about how the cords for the Apple chargers are not the best. And talking about it relying too much on the technology, have you guys heard about this conspiracy theory called Singularity?
No, I've not, no.
Okay, so basically it's a theory that people at a point in time, like at a certain point in time in the future, technology growth could become uncontrollable and irreversible, leading to unforeseeable changes in the human population. As in technology and AI could become essentially smarter than humans and control a lot of the aspects of human life. Now, this could be that. There was a theory that Apple could have released their headset in prediction of such a future, as in to prepare humans for a better integration for such a future. And now with the advancements in ChatGPT and the Apple investments into AI, we can easily see such a thing happening. And people, like a lot of companies and people, have already come forward saying about the dangers of using AI. So this could also go the other way, and the AI could easily make our lives a lot easier. But I would say that it's not a dystopian future where AI controls humans and we become slaves to robots. It's not a sight that's too far away now.
So if we're worried about the headset becoming too engaging, maybe I guess what we're saying is AI could work out how to make your Apple headset so engaging that you don't take it off and you're kind of locked in. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen Ready Player One, but in that,
exactly, yeah,
people get so addicted that they never take the headset off and they start not looking after their kids. And what if, maybe not now, but what if in the future, we're very close, the Apple headset becomes so like reality that people don't want to take it off?
Exactly.
But then I think it comes back to the cost, because it's obviously very, very expensive to just spend money on a headset. I mean, you could just use your phone, you could just use anything else. And but going back to the idea of only having the headset, I mean, and no TV, just assume you don't have any TV. Assuming that you have a friend coming over and wanting to watch a movie with you, and you don't have a TV, you haven't purchased anything, you just have your Apple headset. How would your friend be watching TV with you if you're the only one who has the headset?
I think purchasing 2 TVs would still be cheaper than buying an Apple headset.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's an interesting one, because I saw an interview with Tim Cook where they asked him about this and about the isolationism. And we've got raising mental health awareness and lots of problems in modern life, and this could be further driving people into isolation. I mean, in the actual intro video, a lot of people were sat on their own in the room. I mean, it doesn't seem particularly social.
But it's interesting how Apple, in their video, basically gave like a short glimpse of how someone was watching TV and doing whatever they did with their Apple headset, and then somebody popped up, I think it was their friend or something, and then the person just turned around and started talking to their friend, which is kind of funny to me, because it's obviously acted, like it's acted out, it's scripted, but you don't know how like the behavior will actually happen, or like how it will be implemented in real life. We don't know what will happen yet because we don't have it yet. So that was just like, again with the marketing strategy. I mean, Apple has this really good marketing strategy that kind of like blinds you from everything and just like lets you become like, wow, this is amazing, I want to buy it. Like it's so worth it. But then you just go back and think about it, and then there are multiple things that are lacking from this. So
yeah, I think it's interesting going back to the price and how people are going to use this and maybe what the downsides are, because although the price does seem expensive, this is definitely towards the more higher end of headsets. And I have seen there is a headset called the Varjo VR3, and that's $3,600, and it's actually just it's a professional display headset that would plug into your computer. So what we can see there is Apple's actually gone for a fully formed product. So in terms of the price point, this might be quite realistic. Like even if there's some downsides and Apple's released it now, maybe this is just the best they can do at the time and they just wanted to get it out there and push this kind of technology. I mean, would we be willing to overlook some of these downsides like the 2-hour battery life? I mean, maybe you could swap out batteries, and maybe in the future a lot of these downsides they won't be there anymore.
Yeah, I feel like Apple just wanted to get the first player advantage in this way, in this particular situation, because I don't think anyone had. I mean, that even though there are a lot of VR headsets out there, nobody had tried to integrate real world with AR using a headset before. People would try to, as in like there were attempts to give people access to a digital world using VR headsets, But now there's a new approach, and even though it's not the most perfect product in terms of price point, or it does have its downfalls, but I feel like this is something that Apple can definitely work upon, and maybe it makes it more cheaper and more accessible to the lowest rate of the economy. So I know I see that in the long run they definitely would not have placed the product at such a high price without knowing that they could make an alternative for the product which is cheaper.
Well, actually, there are actually news reports or articles online that actually mention that Apple is coming up with a cheaper version of Apple Vision Pro. So they announced their release in early 2024, so this coming year now, of the Apple Vision Pro. But then they also mentioned there's a rumor that I'm not sure if it's actually true or anything, but there is a rumor that says that they'll be launching a cheaper version of this product in early 2025, which, I mean, obviously going back to our discussion of the prices, it starts off as expensive, but I think it's, again, Apple's marketing strategy of coming up with something very expensive, and then I forgot which theory it's called in economics. I think it's the anchoring. Oh, it's the anchoring theory. Sorry, no, it's the anchoring. What is it? Anchoring.
It could be the anchoring theory. That's where they set the price point really high and the expectation, and then let's say they brought the new one out, the cheaper one, and it was half the price. You go, wow, that's cheap, because the first one was twice as expensive. So there's a lot of potential there, but also they could be taking of the advantage of the higher price point with the I don't think it's first movers advantage, but it's the first people who try a product. They just love the Apple brand. They are just willing to pay that cash just to get their hands on it, especially when a lot of consumers like us guys, we're not going to probably try it for a few years. We've not got the cash, whereas the people who can buy it are going to buy it, and they're going to pay that money.
Yeah. I think it was the anchoring heuristic.
Yeah, I think so.
And I've also heard about some, I was thinking about how Apple can integrate AI into their headsets. Because, there was this student in Stanford who created an AR glasses, a pair of AR glasses that is supposed to help with real-time conversations. As in, you could essentially be having a conversation on a date or an interview, and the glasses will tell you what exactly to say. So this could essentially help people with a lot of social anxiety, people who struggle making a conversation, because this could help them come out of their shell, or
give them prompts to say.
Exactly, yeah. So
like it goes through your Instagram Kath, and it says, oh, Kath likes this, Kath likes that, and then it pops up little AR glasses like, you've not spoke to Kath in 37 days, why don't you ask him about his most recent Instagram post, and then it gives you it to say in the bottom corner of your screen. That's a scary future.
I mean, that would be a lifesaver for me, because I often forget to reply to text.
Yeah, you do.
Some of the companies are already accepting the Apple headphone, the Apple headset, and there was this online jewelry company called Sonuchi, which is released on their website that they announced that they will be supporting AI on their website and app with an image of the Apple headset. So that just shows the support that the release of the new technology has in the market. And this is something that's very different from the support or the environment that Google Glasses faced back then in 2013. So I can definitely see people being more accepting of the technology, and I think Apple is gonna definitely penetrate the market.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because Apple's Safari has generally not been a particularly popular browser. But if people have got this headset on and they're even more walled in, I mean, this could have ramifications for Safari. People could move away from Google. I mean, Google already had the challenges with Microsoft Bing. I mean, if Siri integrates ideas of ChatGPT as well and it becomes more powerful, then yeah, it could create an even stronger economic moat for Apple.
Google's also taking the heat from ChatGPT. I can see if Apple does it, I think Google will definitely be threatened by it. And I'm assuming Google is obviously going to come out with maybe a headset of their own. I can see all the other rivals coming up with headsets of their own, which integrate real world with AI.
Yeah, well, maybe not. That's an interesting question, because there's an argument that Apple shouldn't have created this product, and they've diversified in a way, because what the stock market likes is companies that just keep creating slightly better products like Apple. They don't do anything risky, and then they build this economic moat, whereas this headset could be seen as a massive risk. I mean, if you think of the development costs, and I mean, no one might buy this. We don't know if it's any good yet.
Yeah, that is an interesting argument, yeah.
I mean, I think the stock price actually went down a little bit the day this came out, or the subsequent days. It's gone up since, but yeah.
But then again, Apple doesn't have a history of, introducing new revolutionary products and successfully marketing it. So I guess we just have to wait and see for the how the market reacts when the product is released.
Yeah,
I just cut myself.
Yeah, what did you do?
I cut myself.
You just
Should I include that? Should I include that in the video? Because I saw it and I was about to laugh, but I didn't want to interrupt Will, so you're like right, so let's talk about surveillance in the government.
Okay. Dark Knight device. The Apple headset could be a potential Dark Knight device. As in how Batman in the movie Dark Knight used the device to track down the villain. The Joker.
Oh, so are we the Joker in this scenario? We got our headset on and people can track us and can find us.
No, have you not seen the movie Dark Knight? Come on.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I'm just wondering because let's say we have this headset on, we're emitting so much data. I mean, and if we've got this headset on with a lower field of vision, we're not as aware. I mean, what if we get mugged with the headset on? Or
oh yeah, that is a good point. Maybe they could. Maybe they could, they could include some kind of emergency broadcast system on it, so if it senses that the user is in danger, it could immediately send a report with the location to the cops and the faces of the perpetrators. So this could also promote safety in some ways.
It's got some very interesting ramifications though, because it almost becomes like a police state with the CCTV cameras. I mean, who decides what should get sent to the police, what should get sent to the government? I mean, America's very First and Second Amendment. A lot of people might not like that.
But at the same time, what if it actually, we've seen in America how there are these school shootings and kind of these kids are in danger almost every day. Every teacher should have one, and then that would basically monitor the class. And in the event that, for example, a school shooting happens, then this could immediately alert the police, and kind of give them a live view of what's happening, and they could immediately take over. So maybe this could be a development for Apple rather than just being a device that you could work on, or so it could actually incorporate other fields and industries in it.
Well, I think one of the main uses for the headset in the introduction video was the ability to record things. You can watch something and record it, instead of having to hold your phone up in front of your face and not really see it if it's fireworks, or you're just watching it and it can be recorded. I think I've heard of a system in China though where the children are recorded, and if they look up from doing their work or they stop doing their work, an AI picks that up and marks them down on their report. So do we really want to be introducing things like that to the classroom?
We could, if you're referring to test taking, integrity and security, then yeah. I mean, it obviously as I said, every teacher or invigilator could have this, and then if they do integrate like high tech AI or something, and it would be like able to detect really anyone who's looking to the side. Exactly. So, I mean, I guess that's a good idea. I mean, if we're looking at the positive side, it obviously has some good stuff. But then, if we look at the negative side, then it's basically about government control. Maybe if you want
maybe
to look at it that
just more control. But I don't think I want to go to your school, Hamza. But yeah, that idea of control, maybe there's some potentially scary ramifications of, I think the Apple headset has anywhere between maybe about 10 to 12 cameras on it. I mean, if they're pointing in every direction, just imagine the additional cameras that are going to be out there because of that. The amount of content, the privacy, there's a lot of issues that if it could be used wrongly. And I think that's why Apple... was it a couple of years ago they really hammered in the privacy with the Facebook advertising that killed a lot of Meta's business, and maybe that's why Apple took such a strong stance there, because they understand how powerful an object like this could be and how it could be used wrongly.
I mean, why would they even initiate like the project if they knew? I mean, obviously just by initiating this Apple Vision Pro thing, it's obviously it's already a first step to something that's scary. I mean, everyone thinks it's scary. Like, I've heard multiple people online in the news and everything say that it's actually, scary because it's something that we're not used to. And it's obviously the first revolutionary thing that Apple released since it released its first iPhone a long time ago. Just think about how many things could be eliminated. Like, we wouldn't need cameras. We wouldn't need multiple invigilators. So again, jobs lost. Like, there could be just one invigilator looking to the entire room, and then the thing could detect any single movement or any cheating or anything. And I mean, again, this is too far, but what if, like, let's say Apple integrates infrared sights? So just think about it this way. So one of Apple filters is like black and white. It's one of the black and white features, and it used to be a long time ago. I think they discontinued it. It was an Apple camera or something. I don't remember. It was an app specifically for Apple that had its own camera that you could add like filters and stuff. So one of the filters was like a black and white thing that you could see yourself in a weird way. So if they do like incorporate more of that, or develop it even more, or add it back in an infrared fashion, then they could look into bags and then kind of like tell if somebody like brought a laptop with them, or because obviously like it could detect things like that, or an X-ray or something. So again, like, that's in the future. And if we're looking at control from the government side, then yeah, obviously that's a scary part. Like, that's what people see it as scary. But if it's just left alone and people using it in the right fashion, as you just said, then I think that's not too scary. I think it's actually useful.
Yeah, well, we're just going to have to see, aren't we, how Apple manages that. But Hamza, do you think you're going to be getting an Apple Vision Pro anytime soon?
I would test it out. Yeah, I definitely would.
You give it a go. I think that's it. We'd all like to give it a go when we can. Do you think you're going to be buying one soon, or is it a little bit far away?
I would say it's a bit far away because I cannot afford it right now. Not at the particular price point they are selling it right now. Maybe in the future if they make it cheaper. I definitely want to try it out because
Absolutely. I mean, it looks cool, doesn't it? I think if they could get that price point down and get rid of a little bit of the bulk, I can see it just being like the iPhone for sure.
I'm gonna let ChatGPT do an outro for us.
Make an outro
for the Business Boys podcast. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business Boys podcast. Today we delved into the remarkable world of Apple Vision Pro, exploring its cutting-edge features and how it's transforming the way we live and how businesses function. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to never miss an episode of the Business Boys podcast. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can find that in our link in the description down below for exclusive insights, updates, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you once again for joining us on this episode. Stay tuned for more captivating conversations, empowering insights, and the latest trends in the world of business.